Hello, I'm Darren again. Today's topic comes from a few questions asking what is meant by the term induced conversation in the context of narcissism. So I would like to begin by saying an induced conversation usually refers to a discussion that has been prompted by a particular action or question or intervention. And conversations can be induced in different situations in different ways. For instance, there could be research questions, surveys, could be an educational setting. Pretty much anywhere where the goal is to encourage people to talk, maybe share, explore ideas, or maybe seek feedback in a meaningful way. But in the context of narcissism, it usually refers to a tactic that is used by narcissistic people to steer conversations a particular way, usually in a way that serves their needs, desires, or their ego. There can be some overlaps with conversational narcissism in the sense that both stem from a self-centered perspective, but there are differences. Conversational narcissism tends to involve habitual self-centeredness in their conversations. It's when a narcissistic person can turn any topic to be about themselves, their own experiences, and they can do it without much thought. Induced conversation, however, is a more manipulative form of communication. It can be more refined and have a strategic intent. Now, I have made a video previously on conversational narcissism if you want to watch that for more information. But also, I would like to say that induced conversation isn't just restricted to narcissistic people. For instance, someone with borderline personality might try to find reasons to contact someone such as their partner whenever they feel high levels of anxiety due to fearing abandonment. So a conversation is induced in order for them to try to resolve their anxiety. But when it comes to narcissistic personality, I would suggest there are four main reasons for inducing a conversation, and the first one is about control. Narcissists often seek to control conversations to ensure the focus always remains on them or about subjects that they know about. So they might induce a conversation and bring up a topic they are knowledgeable about or interested in, just to show the depth of their knowledge or their experience. Or they might ask someone a question about how they are, only so that they can offer what they believe to be great advice. The advice, however, is usually just self-serving. It's usually so that they can sound wiser or more confident than you are. Another example could be bringing up what they claim is a much-needed conversation, only for it to turn into being more like a monologue where they get to dictate rather than discuss. They have no real interest in listening to anything the other person has to say. Another example could be asking a question such as, "Did you hear about something that has happened?" And it really doesn't matter if you heard about it or not. They'll launch into everything they want to say about it. Secondly, there is inducing a conversation to seek validation. And these generally tend to be conversations where they want others to see their achievements, experiences, or their qualities the way they do. So this could involve a story about something that has happened and how they feel about it, or perhaps how they dealt with it. But it usually ends with questions like, "Wasn't that terrible what they said or did?" Or, "You think I did the right thing, don't you?" Commonly, they'll tell a version of something that has it difficult for others to say no to. Thirdly, there is inducing a conversation to manipulate other people's perceptions, their emotions, their actions, or perhaps to gain information. They might induce a conversation to evoke sympathy, admiration, or to gain compliance. These conversations tend to have ulterior motives. So these could be conversations that highlight their achievements, their importance, their superiority, and other people's inferiority. But their conversations can also be aimed at trying to get someone to say something in particular, something they can use for their own benefit. For instance, it could be to try to gain information so that they sound competent and knowledgeable when they're talking to others. Or they could tell an unflattering story about someone or something and then ask for an opinion, only so that they can use it to spread gossip, triangulate, or cause contention and conflict between different parties. So they can be quite calculated, steering conversations strategically with the intention of achieving a specific outcome. They could even ask questions that people are afraid to answer, questions often known as gotcha questions. And these are questions that are aimed at trapping people into making statements that might be damaging to their integrity, their credibility, or their character, regardless of the answer they give. Another example could be whenever they create reasons to contact someone. For instance, a friend or a partner is out with other people and they keep contacting them with some kind of emergency. Or maybe contacting an ex-partner talking about how much they miss them so much, they don't want to be without them. Or perhaps demanding a conversation to resolve something that has little to no relevance or importance. Again, these kind of conversations tend to be false, but they are aimed at keeping someone engaged in some kind of communication. Lastly, narcissistic people may induce a conversation just to provoke a reaction from someone else. Now, whether that's anger, envy, jealousy, or even just admiration. But the aim of these kinds of conversations are just to reinforce their own sense of power, control, and importance, and often to disempower others. So they might have conversations where they talk about their moral or intellectual superiority, or conversations where they devalue or disempower others by insulting them in very under the radar kind of ways. For instance, they might have a conversation where they insult a particular belief that some people may have, but they do it knowing they're talking to someone who holds that belief. And this isn't just to initiate a debate as such, it's more judgmental, and it's aimed at trying to cause discomfort and provoke some kind of reaction. And some of the ways they can try to provoke reactions could be maybe making false accusations against someone, trying to humiliate or embarrass someone with cruel humor. There could be harsh criticism and judgment. In order to provoke jealousy and insecurity, there could be mentioning how other people appreciate them more, or other people find them more attractive, or maybe how someone else would be a much better partner than they are. But regardless of the reaction they want, whether that's anger, outrage, jealousy, humiliation, whatever it is, if they get it, then they focus on that reaction as evidence that their target is aggressive, insane, jealous, controlling, whatever it is. They don't focus on what they did to provoke the reaction. And this is commonly referred to as reactive abuse. And again, I've made a video on that topic if you want to watch that for more information. But to summarize, induced conversation in the context of narcissism tends to be a deliberate strategy that is aimed at maintaining control, gaining validation, manipulating others, or to try to provoke reactions. Regardless of the reasons, though, they're all aimed at serving their own self-centered goals. And unlike conversational narcissism, which tends to be more about monopolizing and dominating conversation and often lacks awareness, induced conversations are often characterized more by manipulation. They seek out reasons to start conversations and then steer them in the direction they want to go. There is intent, and in many cases they are actually paying attention and listening to the responses. Also, unlike conversational narcissism, the conversations can be manipulated as needed, rather than always having to dominate them. And if they're listening for particular responses, well, they actually want their target to speak more than they do. But when you get to know a narcissistic person well enough, you might begin to sense whenever the conversation is fake, it doesn't flow naturally. It feels steered in a particular direction. You begin to recognize you're maybe being asked specific questions. You can almost see them studying you for your response. And sometimes you might get the impression that the conversation has maybe been well rehearsed. So that's 4 reasons why narcissistic people induce conversations. Now, as always, there are some things I may have missed, so please feel free to use the comment section or some interesting conversations start from these videos. But if you find this topic to be interesting, please consider subscribing, and until next time, thanks for watching.